Hi everybody, this is Lee. I'm talking about food safety with this video. I've spoken so much on water. Water has been at the forefront of everyone's minds lately. The contamination of water, the control of clean water. Whoever controls clean water actually controls the people because we cannot live without clean water. And so when there is a corporation that threatens in a terroristic like manner to contaminate clean water sources, that's worth fighting for. But we also have to pay attention to what's happening to our food supply because after water, food is next on our list of things that we need to live and survive. And there are corporations that are threatening our food supply the same way that they are threatening our water. I'm looking at Common Dreams. There's a press release here from the Center for Food Safety. They have a new report which confirms bee killing pesticides cause other widespread environmental harm. And so they're saying that economic analysis reveals that neonicotinoids do not increase crop yields, but they do successfully kill off bee populations. Bees are what spread pollen. Pollen is what creates fertilization of plants and which produces food. So we do need bees. We need insects that are beneficial to food quality, food safety, food production, and the fact that there are pesticides being produced, sold and produced, that causes harm to this bee population is a direct threat to our food supply. Minnesota, Mark Dayton, governor, has already acknowledged that this is a problem in Minnesota, and so they are banning the use of neonicotinoids in the food system of Minnesota. But there's been so much propaganda and dismissal of this being aware of what pesticides can do to beneficial insects that people have claimed that it is anti-science to actually analyze this and look at this closely and report it. And it's not just the harm caused to bees. There's also speculation that it affects honeybees, wild bees, water quality, butterfly populations, and also the possibility that they are a direct threat to the human consumers when they're ingested. So I'm going to leave a link to this press release in the description, and I'm going to go on to another article. This is also at Common Dreams. This is Washington State launches a suit against Monsanto for toxic PCB pollution. They're saying in this article that Monsanto knew the dangers of PCBs, but yet hid them from the public in order to generate profits. And this is from the Washington Attorney General, Bob Ferguson. And so Washington State is the first U.S. state to file a lawsuit against Monsanto for damages related to the company's production of PCBs. They did this toxic industrial chemical from 1935 to 1979 until they were banned by the Toxic Substances Control Act. And so they're saying that the company knew for decades that PCBs were toxic and knew that they were widely contaminating all natural resources and living organisms, but yet they concealed those facts and continued producing the PCBs until Congress acted against them. And so they knew, but they hid the information of what they knew, the harm of what PCBs would do, in order to continue making money. And so Washington State wants to hold them accountable. The Environmental Protection Agency deems PCBs a probable carcinogen, and they've been linked to other serious health effects. And so The PCBs have contaminated waterways, water bodies, sediment, fish, land, water, and wildlife throughout the state of Washington. And not probably not just Washington, but it's Washington that's speaking out. And so I'll also leave a link to this article in the description, and you can read more about PCBs and where they came from. This is also about GMOs. This next article is from Food and Water Watch. And it says new GMO survey misleads. And again, there's accusations of people being anti-science when they challenge Monsanto or other corporations that produce bad things that go into our food system. In fact, a new public opinion poll from the Pew Research Group once again imposes false narratives on the GMO debate and distorts the public discourse on this controversial technology. And so there is polling that we have seen already used in a deliberate effort to manipulate public opinion. And so they're saying that they've been polling the Pew Research Group, and the polling is kind of not entirely accurate, or it's being used to manipulate and to promote false narratives and a type of propaganda. Powerful scientific and media outlets have at times misled the public. They've misrepresented scientific information. And this includes the Pew's continued assertions that there is a scientific consensus on GMO safety. And so there's a lack of confidence in the public in regards to GMOs, and it's growing. People are researching, despite the fact that there's been such a vicious and ferocious campaign of ridicule against people who have concerns about GMOs. People are waking up to the issue, and that there are nations around the world who have outright banned the use of GMOs in their country. So I'll leave a link to this article in the description as well. There's a final article on food safety I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. This is also from Food and Water Watch. This is an international tribunal takes on Monsanto's Roundup. And so this is once again a corporate giant grappling with a new form of accountability on a global scale. And so there was a permanent people's tribunal to investigate glyphosate. It's the most widely applied weed killing chemical in the world and the main ingredient in Monsanto's Roundup. And so there's been a lot of research. The World Health Organization cataloged this herbicide, glyphosate, as a probable human carcinogen, and that there are traces of glyphosate in 10 out of 24 foods sampled, including some organic foods. And so it casts doubt on the actions of government regulators like EPA, which has previously claimed that glyphosate presents no cancer risk at all. And that Roundup, which contains glyphosate, has been promoted abroad via U.S. foreign aid programs. And so regulators may not have taken Roundup off the shelves due in large part to Monsanto's ongoing lobbying efforts and PR campaign. But now that there is more accountability on a global scale, and so the international world is rising up to challenge Monsanto. They're saying that it's a form of ecocide, and the fact that Monsanto has been pumping enormous sums of money in order to preserve its power and influence over government decision making around the world. So Monsanto is using its financial wealth financial power in order to protect itself and to continue generating profits, using media propaganda, using influence over regulators to continue to cause harm. In fact, there are organizations in Colombia and Mexico who are also attempting to protect themselves from the harms caused by glyphosate and the aerial applications where they're using airplanes to distribute this herbicide and the health risk that results. I'll leave a link to this article also in the description. It's important to definitely pay attention not only to the water that you drink, but the food that you eat, and that perhaps it is time for a return to the way things used to be somewhat in the good old days when there were organic means of growing food without the use of chemicals, fertilizers, weed killers, herbicides, pesticides, insecticides. But there are organic ways to do that. In fact, in the other video that I created about Fidel Castro, Cuba has actually found ways to grow food organically because they actually had no financial wealth in order to purchase chemical means of growing their food, chemical applications. It's probably to their benefit. Cuban population is extremely healthy. And so maybe if you can't get to Cuba and see for yourself how things are being done there, I think it's worth a minute of time to talk to your grandparents and your great-grandparents and just ask them, how did you all grow that food and manage to make a living on without all this technology? And get them to tell you how it's done. Otherwise, you can go online and read up. You can start with these articles that I put in the description and see for yourself. Good luck.